Alright, so pre-video note about the hidden section. This hidden section is good to see. There are no major spoilers or anything like that. Which is upsetting because now I kind of look like an idiot because of what I said last video. But for the future, we will operate off of the assumption that the hiddens are safe and spoiler-free unless otherwise stated. Okay? Cool. Enjoy the video. Hello, and welcome back to the lore of Punishing Grey Raven. Today we will be getting into the third chapter of the main story, Final Exhibition. Previously, in Chapter 2, Grey Raven was sent back down to Earth to aid in the mission of defeating Iron Maiden, whose true identity was later revealed to be Tifa, a construct thought to have been killed in battle. Along the way, we are introduced to Vera, an oversaturated redhead who leads Cerberus Squad, as well as Nanami, the most unrivaled construct to ever exist. We overcome many roadblocks, and with the aid of her former squad member, we find Tifa, who attacks and corners us in a subway tunnel. We defeat Tifa, although Lee sustains heavy damage in the process. We escape the tunnel and meet the leader of Strikehawk, Chrome, who is responsible for escorting us out of the city. However, unbeknownst to the group, they are watched from the shadows by an unknown entity hell-bent on reuniting with her family. The chapter opens with Roland, who arrives at the abandoned estate, where he is greeted by another ascendant named Gabriel. Gabriel tells Roland that Luna, their leader, is inside and waiting for his arrival. Gabriel then chastises Roland over his carefree antics, with Roland saying he doesn't care for any lofty goals and only wishes to serve Luna. Roland enters and finds Luna with a crowd of corrupted at her feet, begging to be given a share of her power, with one corrupted voicing its desire to be freed from the virus. Hearing this, Roland splits it in half, saying anyone who wishes to be freed from the virus has already lost their opportunity to join ASNet. Only by embracing the virus and proving themselves capable of surpassing it can they gain true power. He tells the corrupted to fight the Babylonia forces that are en route to prove themselves worthy of Luna's power. Luna kindly asks Roland not to toy with her sister when she arrives, as Roland has more pressing matters to deal with. Roland acknowledges Luna's request and says he is still looking for an appropriate seed to infect. From there, we pick up with Kamui, a member of Strikehawk who is on his way to the abandoned estate when he gets lost. He sees Roland and approaches him, completely unaware of his identity as an ascendant.
Serious?
To Roland's dismay, Kamui asks him for directions to the estate. The Grey Ravens arrive at the estate, where the ascendant trail finally goes cold. Liv explains the estate used to be a museum for bionic machines, as the owner took a liking to bionic research. After the outbreak, it was turned into a shelter until the end of the Great Evacuation during the post-pandemic age. Lucia reminds us that although the viral density is low, she is still receiving multiple distress signals from inside the estate from the previously sent in recon teams, and we should be on guard for any potential threats. We enter the estate and find the bodies of a fallen recon team when we are attacked by the lurking corrupted. After analyzing all of the corpses, a defense pteropod manages to sneak up on Lucia, who is unable to react in time. At the last second, Kamui arrives and destroys the turret before it can fire. Lucia thanks him for the timely assist and asks who he is. This catches Kamui off guard, as he knows Lucia from when they first entered training together. Lee urges them to save the small talk until after the area has been cleared and we get to work. Finally clearing out all of the enemies, Kamui formally introduces himself to Grey Raven as the tank-type construct belonging to Strikehawk, and explains his mission to track down the Ascendants. Kamui explains to the team all that he knows about Ascendants, including knowledge of the Ascension Network. Grey Raven is shocked to hear that there are multiple Ascendants, and Lucia asks if Kamui has any information on Alpha, the one who attacked us in the church, but Kamui doesn't know any more about her than we do. We continue to fight our way towards the main gate, where we are contacted by the estate butler, who tells us to turn back or we will be dealt with as intruders. We refuse and continue on. With the security system still active, we are forced to use EM camouflage to render ourselves invisible to try and sneak through the gate. We make it through, and in the next room, Liv tells us that we are nearing the Courtyard, which is the furthest place reached by any of the recon squads. Suddenly, we hear explosions throughout the mansion, and Lee is able to detect multiple friendly signals and tells us they are locked in combat with a corrupted, far stronger than Tifa, and we assume this enemy is one of the ascendants we have been looking for. We prepare ourselves to take on the threat, and Kamui comments that Lucia is just as feisty as she was in her training days, another detail that Lucia doesn't seem to remember. We enter the courtyard, which has 2 levels separated by a large staircase, with the friendly signals coming from the upper level. Liv determines the fight is over and all friendlies are still alive and intact, but they don't answer our attempts to establish contact. As we near the staircase, the enemy concentration increases dramatically, and the risk of being caught as a group is too great. We choose Lucia, who has the weapon and skill necessary to use EM camo and silently dispatch the enemies. We eliminate all of the corrupted and make our way to the second level, where we find the recon squad, who are missing their inver devices. We notice they've also been rendered immobile, but otherwise alive, and we approach only to have them explode as proximity mines. We fight our way past the ambush and make it through the courtyard. We soon arrive at the heart of the estate, where we finally see Roland, giving us our first known look into an ascendant. Kamui rushes in and attacks Roland, but is fended off easily. Before we can jump in to help Kamui, Roland calls out Roseblade, the now corrupted estate butler who we spoke to earlier. We beat Roseblade. We finally manage to defeat Roseblade, and Grey Raven is free to turn their attention towards Roland. We engage Roland, who seems to have an explicit focus on Lucia and wants to test her capabilities. He calls us weak and compares our combat performance against what someone has told him earlier. During the pause in combat, Kamui rushes Roland once again. However, this was all part of Roland's plan, as when Kamui rushes in, Roland destroys the pillars supporting the hall, causing the debris to split the group apart, with Roland finally admitting that Kamui was his true target the entire time. Knowing the building is going to collapse, Kamui tells us to leave him behind. However, we refuse and continue looking for a way to get him out. It is at this point Chrome contacts us and warns the group of Kamui's quickly rising corruption levels. We open with Roland, having crashed the train into the estate in order to avoid the outer wall defense systems and break into the main building directly. He enters the estate and fights his way through mobs of defense units until he reaches the security control terminal. He is contacted by Gabriel, who informs him that Luna will be arriving at the estate after she finishes tailing Grey Raven, and that the defensive system should be down by the time she arrives. Roland makes his way through the estate, where he finds one of the recon teams that were following him throughout the mansion. Having been discovered, the Construct Squad decides to attack Roland. However, they rolled a Nat 1 and are absolutely destroyed by Roland, who decides to make use of their corpses by turning them into the minefield we encounter later on. Roland arrives at the center of the estate and finds Roseblade, and begins to gloat how none of the estate's security systems were even able to slow him down. Roland then correctly guesses the reason Roseblade could not leave to fight him, that being the last command Roseblade received was to keep himself safe. Roland taunts Roseblade, knowing he cannot keep his master's last wish. The two then engage in a fight, where Roseblade is defeated and eventually infected, becoming no more than Roland's corrupted watchdog. Alright, and with that, we are done with Chapter 3. Pretty straightforward, not a lot of events happened, but there was definitely a lot of setup that I can see coming into play in later chapters. Especially with Luna, who we know for sure is definitely either Lucia or Liv's sister. Lucia seems to have some type of amnesia, so who knows, maybe it was amnesia that you forgot about, I don't know, that you had a sister. Or maybe Lucia has the amnesia and Liv has the missing sister. That's kind of wild to think about. Everybody in the group gets their own tragic backstory. This Gabriel dude, he sounds cracked, right? We haven't even seen his face yet, so he's got to be like number 2 in command or something. Yeah, that's about all my thoughts, at least on the chapter. I will say, the video making is going much faster. The first one took me like 3 days. The second one took me 2 days. And I made this first one 1 day. Like this, I made the script, recorded the audio, and did all the editing in 1 day. So I feel like I'm getting much better at this. Like I said before, hopefully you guys do see an improvement over time. And look forward to the next video.